We said our motivation once again to do whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment by perfecting all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. To perfect those trainings, we must in turn have a very good understanding of what they are about, and we gain this knowledge through dependence upon a non-mistaken presentation. And so it is with this in mind that we are here this morning to listen to a brief explanation on the outlines of the great treatise of the stages of the path to enlightenment, as composed by the great Lama Tsongkhapa. Gyatang Junju Dokude Gyatang Junju Dokude Nibadi Lukte Jidaga Koratsu.
먼저 저기 거서죠. 우메다와디 다 지금 삼로 땅제 다 지금 조선 제네 삼로 땅에 아니 네원니온도 아니 다 오다 최 탐제를 하시 타도데 아니 다 유대는 맞죠 봐. 되게 지금 자주 다 유다데 다 지금 가서 또배 따좀 다 랑게 차셔야 되네. 조점 랑게 차셔야 되네. 조점 안 또배 따좀 오다 된데를 신배다 좀 나지면 선생 예바이네 렌테다 니 개왕한 지다 디게레네 예바 숙체도 장도가 체지 그래서 라신의 매배 되는 아니 때내 주에 되는 예바니 때내 주에 되는 데는 라신 매배는 예바니 온데 아니 렌테다 아니 개왕한 지라서 소바 다가는 시 타바다 탐제 김배게는 사람께 남샤 다가는 코와 코 단계에는 그래서 봐 디게레는 예바 숙체도 체지잖아 그 코와를 년중 안这个 타바 좀 되고 타베게 양재 탐지 기별 공부 좀 되고 로 이거 숙체도 저도 봐이나 랑게 저거도나 랑게 동반이게 예바니바 땅 삼로 땅은 예바니바 때 저 뭐요 저 예배 따된 거 요래 아 디면은 즉 노디게 요래 즉 상게 요 말이야
So, in discussing the Madhyamaka, or the middle way view, that what we need to gain a conviction in is the final status of phenomena, when it comes to analysis, is that they are seen to be lacking in any intrinsic existence, and that this in turn in the what's implied from a good understanding of the middle way view is that they are therefore merely imputed by thought. And this in turn gives us the conviction that the law of cause and effect, the past and future lives, and all of the paths pertaining to the liberation in the omniscient state of enlightenment are valid, are true, are tenable, are workable. And so this is because we have this conviction that phenomena lack intrinsic existence, that they are therefore dependent originations, that they arise in dependence. And so this allows us to also, consider that the experiences of cyclic existence, that it being in the nature of suffering, can further inform our renunciation of all that cyclic existence has to offer. Because it validates that, it shows that this is why this is the case. And so, therefore, that the path leading to a definite emergence from cyclic existence towards liberation is valid. So it's very, very important that we have this sort of clear, complicated understanding of emptiness, that it is something that we have conviction in. And if we don't, then we have to consider that our understanding of the Madhyamaka or middle way view is incorrect or incomplete. So this validation of our practice is important through the process of really having a clear understanding of the view of dependent origination. That the dependent origination is emptiness, is dependent origination. Having that a clear understanding of therefore that which enables us to proceed on the path. It offers that whole panacea of transformation there through our practice. So when we gain conviction like that, thereafter we will not be inclined to waste any time. We will be able to really practice all through the 10 grounds and the 5 paths, and to see it as a golden opportunity for us, something really precious, that we have met with this understanding, this path, and gain this conviction, and have this ability to be able to practice to the best of our ability.
della uma beleggio da tabasta subject matende da nivo di lude ci da capo su delle
lukte jida gakba tsul
da di zo di yoso cosa lude ume tumo mai be keju capo da batela sumjen ume keju mo so wacha lude ci da capo su della uma beleggio da tabsu skitwata da lude 다도 우메 계주 무슨 와데 가서 쉬자 맞잖아. 다 루데 지다가를 추스겠다. 니가 루데 지다가를 추되네. 다 루데다 우마블 밑에 맞대 하도 막 견주지 않더라다. 다 대다 공부 루두기 로라사. 징도라서 남자 탐제에서 조베 네와랑 심메가 켈랑 거라서. 징도라 조베 남자한테 켈랑 켈링게 와서 공부 루두고 켈랑이 여와 인자 아니 다 네와 라신기에서 라신 매버 켈랑 공카사 징도라 소베 남자 탐제 조베 네와 라신 매버 켈랑 거와라 계좌 무보 안남 란지 무보도 라신 매나 현지시 랑기 무보도 라신지 매바 이나 현지시 되나 징도다 개가서 고발라 된다 봐서게 개발죠 미고바 라신 고베 리베 고발 말에 소고서 라신 고베 리베 마오서 다 된다 배 개발 자고 말했어 보다 보다 그 조바치도 오지.
And so that we will be looking at the series of outlines showing that those systems contradict the unique feature of the Madhyamaka. This is last week, and so we had looked at that the particular subheadings underneath that outline, and that we went back even further to last week when we looked at refuting an overly broad identification of the object to be negated. So that's the overall sort of label on the outlines that we're looking at. Refuting an overly broad identification of the object to be negated. In other words, negating too much. And so the first part was last week stating others' assertions, what they say, and secondly showing that those assertions are wrong. So within that, then we had last week showing that those systems contradict the unique feature of the Madhyamaka. And so looking into that, we first of all identified the distinguishing feature of the Madhyamaka, and now we're looking at how those systems contradict this distinguishing feature of the Madhyamaka. And so under that particular subheading, it says that according to the protector Nagarjuna, he states that it should be set forth that in connection with the presentation of bondage and freedom, etc., that we must have conviction that and assert that they lack any intrinsic existence. However, from your point of view, in other words, those objecting to the Madhyamaka point of view, that when you conclude that phenomena lack any true or intrinsic existence, you ask, what else is there? If they lack this, then what else is there? And so here it's saying that, and also like with regard to that, they insist that one must why must you use the qualification that they are ultimately non-existent, etc. But it said in the context of refuting that production and so on, cessation, bondage, freedom, these phenomena, etc., lack any true existence. In other words, in their refutation, it's not necessary to include the qualification ultimate, and so they are refuted by the arguments that refute intrinsic existence itself.
다 수마텔라 우마베 렌지다 타바네사 다 란지 모비오 투베 란시 메바이나 란지 모비오 투베 란시 메바나 현지시 유제 마와 테니 데미사와라사 다 데메스다 네바도 누구 란시 메바당 누구 매반이게 개발 맞춰 봤어요. 스타트 누구 란싱이 매바다 근데 누구라 소바티 란싱이 매바스가다 매반이게 개발 맞춰 봤더니 찍도 째네. 이 너희 딱 거툭거려다. 개발 맞춰 봐. 스카세고 책이도 없어. 좀 전에 이제 뭐 인사 대체 누구 주바다 란지 뭐베 주바 니자 미체베다 누구 주바다 라 누구 주바다 누구 뭐베 주바 니게 야와체 마시 맞잖아. 미체베 요나 란지 뭐베 요바다 란지 뭐베 주바 메나 때매도 마서 응마베 루다 안 개발 매버다 응마베 루다 안 개발 매버 찾아도 개라 오마바 인식이 요때 은 응마베 켈레다 집어지게 찾아도 수
So the third of these outlines, as you can see there at the bottom of your outlines on page 376, which says how a Madhyamika responds to those who negate the distinguishing feature of Madhyamaka. So now the distinguishing feature of Madhyamaka has been set forth, and then also how those traditions who disagree with it, what their issues are, they have been asserted. So now it's how a Madhyamika responds to those who negate the distinguishing feature of the Madhyamaka. So here it centers on being able to clearly make certain distinctions. So here, so those who claim that if phenomena lack any intrinsic or real existence, what's left? What else is there? So the Madhyamika's point of view is that to say you have failed, if you claim that, you have failed to make the distinction between, for example, a seedling's lack of intrinsic existence and a seedling's lack of existence. So you fail to distinguish the difference between those two. Similarly, this means also that there is a failure to distinguish between the existence of a seedling and the existence of a seedling by way of its own essence. So you're unable to make that distinction also. So for the point of view, these objectors you're saying if something exists, that it must exist essentially or intrinsically. And if something is not established or not established essentially, then it does not exist at all. And so by making these statements, you're showing your lack of understanding, and that there is essentially no difference between your point of view and those made by what are known as the essentialists, or those who claim that there is the real existence of phenomena.
Tene chunga tela tene tongba yimbeki ene nyeba changma tuwa an tela tene ta tene kyo mangpo yonte ka yorba ta suwa ta do tuni sheba yina ta tongba ta ten chun niki jawa chukdang chi ene nyeba ma nyeba chene ene ane jiga ta chukde yonte ka yorba ta chukde yonte ka yorte.
So in brief, what this is explicating or making more extensive is the danger, the risk of misunderstanding and mistake that is there if one does not have a clear understanding of the relationship between dependent origination and emptiness. And that one must be very, very have this complete conviction in that intimate connection between emptiness and dependent origination.
다들 제다 많이 받잖아. 다까지 랑싱게 매바다 매바니가 예와티 예바잖아. 요 말이 쓰고 요 말자. 랑싱게 좀도 좀 못도. 그래서나 단다디 그래서도 뭐빈 내줄래 제바치도 그 여다 매라 제바치고 요 말와. 요 뭐빈 내줄래 제바치도 랑싱게 좀도 좀 못도 제바치고 요 봐. 로 앞에나 차샤바이나 배나 봄바소라지 거저가 여담에 제바지에다 뭐빈 내줄래 다 그래서 랑싱게 좀 여담에 제바지 준이도 내다 로가로 와. 랑싱게 제 지나 여담에서 그 군조배 내다 제바지다 들어와. 다 랑싱게 좀도 좀 못도 제바지다 다그 랑싱 타도도 가르샤 제바지한 거로 왔다. 그 니니 개발 용거 되게 좋아.
And so here it's so important to have a very deep conviction about with regard to what is referred to as intrinsic existence, and that there, after the ascertainment of that, so that afterwards the ascertainment of the lack of that intrinsic existence does not lead us to conclude that therefore there is no existence, or there is a complete lack of existence, and thereby fall into the extreme of nihilism. So it's so important that we have this understanding that when we conclude through our reasoning that any phenomena lacks intrinsic existence, it does not mean that it is non-existent. It lacks intrinsic existence, therefore it is a dependent phenomena or dependent origination. So when, for example, we take something like a vase or a pot, and we want to analyze the nature or the final nature of that pot. So there's the talking about the existence of the pot, and then talking about its true or intrinsic existence. So we don't want to conflate the two, because on the one hand, when we talk about pot, we can conventionally confirm the existence of the pot. It's very clear, it's very obvious. But when we are saying, now I'm going to examine the final or ultimate status of that pot, now we're talking about proceeding on the basis of reasoning that is analyzing whether or not that pot has intrinsic existence or intrinsic nature or not. So there's two different things here. So the one hand, it lacks that intrinsic existence, but on the other hand, it does have this dependent existence that we confirm conventionally.
디버도 다디 가서 외매도 좀 하지. 라시는 맞죠? 인자 다고 두베데 때내 중할 때 외매도 좀 줘야지. 외매도 예반이 돼야지. 다 리베 쇼로 조단 제발 왔다 된대식 예반이 또 가지고 고고요. 왔다. 리바 양다가 계속 타와 이바이나.
And so when we apply reasoning, and what we mean is here like a correct reasoning here, what we're examining is for example in this case of the pot, is like how it is established. It's the way it exists, yes, and that whether what we are refuting through that analysis is that we're going into this process with an open attitude, examining if it has such intrinsic existence or objective existence, and then finding that it doesn't. That's refuted, but we actually confirm that it does have a mode of existence and a valid mode of existence based on it being established in terms of its parts or in terms of its causes and conditions. So the general topic is, how is this pot established? How does it exist? How does it come about? And so this examination of its existence like this is conducted in terms of correct reasoning.
근데 이제 직전 제법을 되긴 소에 좀전에 삼을 쉬고 딴 거요. 다 이나 다 거기 좀전 양다 많이 벌차다. 좀전 삼로 따는 다 제주도 많이 되다 군조 제발했어. 지어라다. 그러다 다까지 좀다 제발 전에 시기도. 제발 전에. 다 제죄는 다 지나 거 저기 가서데 저기 주다 제불을 되바데 가라칸서다 켈링 거와. 베너스 지대 제법을 되긴 소 수수부를 납달을 딴거 요래 신갔다고 요래 거 라바라고 유겐데스 먹고스다. 되게 요와. 디모고 베나 소소 삼바 상보다 양보 제바이나 이게 가서 지대 제법을 잠을 깨그래서 그저 유다 제빈 남자지 켈링 되게 도와. 얘네야 다도 제주도 많이 다도 군조 제발해서 괜찮다. 데레질 다 고고로 다 타도 제주도 다 많이 받대라. 다 군조 제발해서 괜찮.
So there's very varied levels of reasonings that are employed in order to conduct this kind of analysis. So for many that there's this conclusion on the basis of reasoning when they look into how an object or phenomena exists and not finding it to exist in any concrete or intrinsic way. Their conclusion is that therefore God created it. And so here, even though that at the same time there is this very coarse and acceptance of, for example, the law of cause and effect, in that children put into school and then as that causal on that causal basis they will qualify and maybe get good employment as a result later on. And so it's in other words, to for their own personal progress, there's this cause and effect relationship that's accepted. That from their own point of view, if they live a good, kind-hearted life, when they die, they will be able to be seated at the right hand of God in heaven. So that's the cause and effect understanding. And yet, when it comes to any sort of in-depth analysis, where it comes to actually ascertaining the status of phenomena, not finding that, they conclude that therefore it must be created by God. So that's one level of reasoning.
아니 제발 제전다 니가 요 말 봤다. 근데 지금 제발 좀 제발해서 그렇다. 근데 지금 바고 매죠. 근데 지금 바고 있어요. 그것도 지금 띵 사고 싶다 요 봐. 띵 사고 싶어요. 다 이내다 잡는 참아 요면서도 곧 내줄로 가라.
So in other words, it's like Dennis said, I'm not aware of the kind of tenet views of Christianity or anything like that, but it does seem that these thinkers throughout the centuries, like looking into matters like this and unable to, for example, ascertain how they were produced or how they came about, even on that level, then they very much kind of fall back to the standard conclusion that therefore they were made by God, that God as the agent of creation brought these about, made these. So it's actually a very logical thing, isn't it? When you don't find how something was made or how it was produced or how it came about, then you conclude that there is a powerful being that created them. And so it's actually quite a subtle reasoning in a way. Whether it's backed up by valid cognition or not, that's another issue.
다 남배게 다 직된 제법보고 직된 제법보고 믹스게 다 가서 탄주베 루게 직된 제법보로 뜨고 말에 가서 그 라신게 마주바 임바인사 다 죽다한테 때내 중하면도 때내 중하 임바한테 다 외매랬어 외매랬어 그 직된 제법보고 그 계좌 말했어 거다 랑신게 마주바 인사 다 그 죽다한테 그 때내 죽다면도 심하지 요마티 그 랑신이랬어.
And so, from a Buddhist point of view, and more particularly from the Madhyamika, the consequentialist middle way point of view or tenet view, there is no assertion of a creator God. There's no acceptance of a creator God, and that when you look into phenomena and you reach that point of view of looking into how they were produced and not finding any inherent or intrinsic production, they conclude that things arise in dependence. They are dependent arisings or dependent originations, and that there's no need to try to present any other mode of creation like a creator God, that actually this dependent arising or dependent origination element of phenomena is a natural phenomena. This is the way they are. And so there's from the middle way point of view as well, that such is the view that is held there, that any presentation or assertion that phenomena were the product of a creator God would be contradicted through in many different ways through reasoning.
니바 뇌제 조반 남제서 그래서 순미 침바때 받아 시자 리베 제 수미서 단에 가베 순지 메뉴 받아 신지 메뉴 받아 제메 좀 만두가 단에 고바 순지 메뉴 봐 무시 개와 이미 단에서 고바 순지 메뉴 받아 뭐뭐 예매 소제 무시라 고바야 뇌제 또 미로 왔대 봐 고쳐 어쨌든
So the next outline is the outline sorry, I'm looking at for the headlines here. That's at the bottom of page 376, showing that the Madhyamaka critique does not eradicate conventional existence. And this will be done through four main points. As you turn over to 377, looking at the outlines, you cannot eradicate conventional phenomena by refuting them through investigating whether they are capable of withstanding rational analysis. And B, you cannot eradicate conventional phenomena by refuting them through investigating whether valid cognition establishes them. C, you cannot eradicate conventional phenomena by refuting them through investigating whether they are produced in one of the four alternative ways. And D, a refutation of all four parts of the tetralemma is not a legitimate critique of conventional existence.
다 담보의 리베 제수면서 다내서 가게 순지미 뇌반에서 수라소베 최대다 최대다서 최대다 수라소베 최대다도 인루라 외담네 게미게 셔바스 라소베서 관에 수시도 줘봤네 대코나니가 줘베 리바당사 타도 주베 리바셔바 이라서 대코나니가 줘베 리바 타도 주베 리바서 거다네 그래서 리바디 수수이 개와 제수바네 코보자 제수바네 코보자 미드베 대서 뭐서 태외 교매데 그래서 뭐서 태외 교매데 개발 리베 제 미세바다 리베 뇌바니 파베 냠샤 이시게 개가 마시바다 매버스바니 라신그 유메 주베 리시게 개가 많이 바다 개가 매바니 바 니데 대단 레퍼체고소스 레퍼체고소 예와체고스 체고소
So the first of these, that you cannot eradicate conventional phenomena by refuting them through investigating whether they are capable of withstanding rational analysis. So here it's describing, first of all, the notion of rational analysis. So here a proper analysis of whether form, etc., phenomena such as form, etc., exist or are produced in an objective sense. That analysis is what's referred to as a line of reasoning that analyzes reality, or a line of reasoning examining the final status of being. So here, when we look through those, using such reasoning, examining form, etc., we are examining to see whether that phenomena, form, etc., could withstand such reasoning. And from the Madhyamaka point of view, they assert that actually it cannot withstand such reasoning. And because of that, they avoid the fallacy that there are truly existent things. However, it said from the other objector's point of view, and so here that they again this is this inability of being able to distinguish between two different concepts, and so the inability on the one hand to distinguish between a phenomena being unable to withstand analysis by reasoning, and a phenomena invalidated by reasoning. And also when it comes to the wisdom of an Arya being in meditative absorption, and that they do not see production or cessation whilst in meditative absorption. But then how could they see also the complete lack of existence of such production and cessation? And so again, they're kind of saying that those who object to the Madhyamaka point of view are unable or unable to make the distinction between the two. So, for example, here you take the two of the non-finding, or the refutation of production on the basis of an analysis analyzing whether something had intrinsic or real existence or not, and then they're not finding that versus the non-existence of such production and cessation. And so it's saying that when it comes to applying the Madhyamaka point of view, we need to be able to very clearly make that distinction between a phenomena's lack of intrinsic existence on the basis of what it's saying, withstanding rational analysis or that reasoning, and its actual lack of existence.
니바 체메 쭉 마주 따네 고비에서 순지 미니바네서 체메 쭉 마주 따네 순지 고메 미니바네 술라소바 켈레바네 체메 마주바 미되지 체메 주바 이노서 술라소바도 구조가 최되거든. 워나 남고 지게 체메시 수바 지다이 냠나서 다디 균제 가르라나 되네 지데베 밀라소바네 셰바나네 대코나니라 처마 말했을 거로 지다 코나 구조를 유라 처마 말했을 거 말봐. 근데 유코라 배나 유mon부 이나래 이비나래 다 근데 집이나 코란게 구조를 최나에 되라 처마 송아 열봐. 이나 다다데 가서 가서라다. 가서 지덴베 가서다 가서다 가서라다 가서 다 가서 지덴베가 가서 지덴바다 가서 처마 면송에디 처마 면송에디 가서 유타도라 처마 면서 다 유타도라 처마데 다 가서다 다 같이 밥에 냠샤 이시 가서다 유타도데 라신거 마주바 인사 라신거 마주바데 다 가서다 다 되는데라 다 같이 출라 취상관이 제제도 냠마샤는 냠샤 이시 차되고 요바 냠샤 이시 차되고 와다 어디 대코나니라 처마 이마 이게 시고 요르마도 구조배 출라 처마 이마 이게 시고 말고 딱보 투되고 요바 어디 가서 대코나니라 처마 미바 처마 이마 까바레서 유탐제라 처마 이마 까바 말이었어 밀라 대코나니 무슨도 통화라 파바남 코나 처마 있다 대코나니 무슨 통화들라 파바 코나 처마는도 진짜 소개 말이었어 대코나니라 처마 말이었어 어떻게
당연히 그 팍박이
나한테 들어왔다.
사람
탑상에 들어와.
탈톡라 그거데
냠샤 있었어.
톤탐베기 내당데 내내 그거데 시기와
그래. 딱 팍박이 냠샤 있었어. 냠샤 있으겠다. 그래서 냠샤 있으게 식바 나시 아니 되는 게 바로 다 최. 팍박이 냠샤 있으겠는데 그래서는 최 가리 인바에 되게 랑신라 아니 랑신데 제준에 엔들은 냠바샤되고 요마 각자 각삼 다라는 냠바샤도 각자 각삼 데리실 냠바샤되고 요마 좋아 다 진짜 대코나니라 아니 소다 대코나니라다 pero 소소기모소 다 지금 봐서 소소기모라 쓰고 요마 소소기모소게 아니 대코나니라 참아 말이었어 대코나니라 다 파면 냠샤이시 참아샤로 되고 그래서 무유근에서 타투 같이 예반년에 들어 제지도 샤베 롬하러 와 샤베 가서 하러 와 와다 디게지 시고 요와 다 디니 제제 다 되고 다 툭되고 요와 다.
So the second of these points is that you cannot eradicate conventional phenomena by refuting them through investigating whether valid cognition establishes them. So here it's saying that that, for example, if someone claims that from the Madhyamika point of view, say that they accept form, etc., but that they are not established, but that valid cognition does not establish them, that would be incorrect because valid cognition does establish them. So they have issue like with the point of view from the Umajupadi, because of the Namgyune Jikten Semin se somewhat the Umajupadi the Trapadi,
correct? Semin said the Casana Duan Dambegi Yula and Jikten was some Mariesta. Don't about you tattoo the Basila Tati, Tapamina Chai Chati. 지금 말 구조배죠. 구조배도 다 가져 되는다면 되는데라 추되게 열받아.
And so they kind of like, and this is a quote from the Arya Chandrakirti's entering of the Middle Way, a presentation of the Middle Way, where he makes the quote that the world is not valid in any way. And so those who have an incorrect understanding, they claim that that is an incorrect statement. But they fail to understand that the context for that statement, that the world is not valid in any way, is that Master Chandrakirti was referring to the ultimate status of the world. So when you examine things in terms of an ultimate reality, seeing their ultimate standing or status, with using that reasoning, that you do not find them valid in any way, because they lack that intrinsic or ultimate existence. But it's also failing to say that from, and also looking into, say, the looking at, say, in terms of worldly visual sense or visual consciousness with regard to reality, they say that this also is refuted as being valid. But and that kind of, in that sense, they say that therefore all objects are refuted. But it does, in fact, this is a mistake, saying that just because things are not validated from an ultimate point of view, it does not refute them, all phenomena. So one has to make again that distinction between what is seen on the basis of that Arya being in meditative concentration, again, meditative absorption. And so we have to understand that for at the outset of that meditation, they were choosing as their subject matter the nature or the true nature of phenomena. Their examination was confined to looking at the ultimate status of phenomena. And so they would have gone through the meditation on emptiness and reached that point of the mere vacuity, of not finding what they were looking for, and that's the mere negation of the object of negation. And then they went into absorption meditation, and just on that point. So this is what is referred to here, that the concern for an Arya being, the wisdom of that Arya being in meditative absorption, is the ultimate status of phenomena. So they're merely absorbed in, fixed on the mere negation of the object of negation. It does not mean that they have an idea or a concern for whether things exist or not, because that's the concern of that particular meditation. It's a meditative absorption looking at the final status of phenomena. So here too, that is not to be confused with the fact that though phenomena can be ultimately invalidated, so that they do not have, not based on valid cognition, but that does not, you cannot conclude that they are subsequently conventionally invalidated.
군조백의 추기 제바지단다 군조백의 그런 제바지단 그래서 제바지단 지금 연구요. 다 되는다면 제바지단 그 되는다면 제바지단 조다지. 다 되는다면 제바지배 칼라다 아니 다 제바지배 걸고 라싱 좀 모두 다운됐더니 아니 다 라싱 좀 모두 다운고요. 또 어가다 군조백의 거치를 다요 말과. 다 군조백의 걸 제원도 거치 그 라싱을 제바지고 라싱 타도를 제바지고요 말이야. 그 최대기게 대다 되게 뭐진다 그래서 그도 되는데 아니 코란
체디 그거들
그런 뭐지요 맞다면 매나 차시색의 뭐지다 주의나 내시의 뭐자 코란 뭐진도 얘기 아니 내가 대잠지라 대잠지게 초바제네 직제다 줘 봤다 그 코란 근데 좀도 라완의 라완의 좀 난게도 다 나왔다도 좀도 어디 잡아지 지기요 말이야.
So therefore, it's this distinction of what is the concern of a conventional analysis of a phenomena versus the ultimate analysis of a phenomena. So, for example, the conventional conventional analysis is not concerned with the final nature or final status of what it is examining. That it is concerned with the functioning of a phenomena. It will analyze into, for example, that fire has the nature of burning, that water has the quality of wetness, moisture. And so this is what it comes to recognize about the object or phenomena that it is analyzing. So it's not saying, conventional analysis is not saying, oh, the object appears like this. I wonder if it exists in the way it appears. Let's examine or analyze into that. That's not the concern of conventional analysis. That's the concern of ultimate analysis. So ultimate analysis is solely concerned with that nature, that ultimate nature of phenomena. And so it is deeply concerned with the disparity between how a phenomena appears and then actually how it really exists. So it's actually delving into the final status, or the whether it has or not any intrinsic existence.
다 군소비 최 되게 된데서 주다 깨다 차샤다 된데 때는 연구에 좀 제가를 샤스라도 오다 라싱가 마주와 임바서 되게 연구요래서 다 걸려고도 와.
And so, where do they cross over then, when a conventional and ultimate phenomena, or kind of analysis, kind of where they can cooperate in a way? That so, when you reach the point where you have this understanding of conventional phenomena, conventional existence arising on the basis of causes and conditions, and then you can, that automatically offers you the extra understanding that because of that, because phenomena conventionally arise in dependence on causes and conditions, that they cannot be independent, intrinsically existent.
다 가자 들에 맞고 라완의 두바이나 다 주다 깽기 요다에 요말와 다 주다 깽기 교화스탄의 용어도 라완의 두고 매바됐다 예반이 두고 있고도 와.
And so, because if phenomena were self-established, established from their own side, independent, there's no way they could arise in dependence upon causes and conditions. So, through your understanding, conventionally and ultimately, one is giving more conviction to the other. So it's important to make those connections.
나 다르지 배는 거서 점점 가서 배 기부도서 가고 싶은 거래. 점점 도부 싶은 거 요래. 그 라완의 두바 임바이나 아니 거두이네 기부 유여지. 나는 두부이나 거두이네 두부 유여지. 가 점점 기부요 점점 두부 다네 기부도서 까마카시했지나 야뭐 기부 차는 무고에 되는 용도 와. 때 가르쳐서 거기 라완의 두메 가지고 귤을 떼고 요마이자 아니 귤다 투베는 되고 용 되기도 와.
So that's sometimes that we are happy, and then like sometimes we are sad. Is something again that should clarify for us that the very notion of our moods depends upon the shifting sands of causes and conditions, and that that we are not it's truly established or intrinsically existent, because if so, there would be no change. If you had a happy moment, you would always be happy. If you're stuck in sadness, you're always going to be miserable and sad. There's no possibility of change or transformation if phenomena intrinsically existed. But the very fact that common sense shows us that 1 minute we're up, we're happy, and then a few minutes later we're sad and we're crying. This shows you that actually this is all based on the relationship of cause and condition. That you are what you are in harmony with the causes that have been created and are now ripening as because of conditions into results.
다가네시 그 라왕 두바이나 아니 그 디디 두서 다 가서 고추 다 가서 토마메 바네 no beginning no end 와 그거 돼요 막 라왕 두바이다 그 라왕 두게 내 다가라 유에도 돼 아니 거기에 유에 차대기로 와 거기에 유에도 다 점점 그 유에 뒤에 점점 매배 뒤에도 그 라왕도 중매가 따뜻해지고 와다.
And again, if phenomena had this true independent existence, there could be no change at all. There'd be no beginning, no end. That everything would be immutable, and that because of the fact that we see reality as not being like that. That it sometimes things are in existence, then they go out of existence. That there is this change. That it shows that they lack such an intrinsic or objective existence.
다 이래야 나라줄라 유대의 두바 난게 요래 나와다도 다 신게 요래 아니 들라때는 차다가 로끼게 요래 다 되네 이마인사 안디 저기 가서도 직삼 심바제 마이제는 배 샘티네 배 네바제네 아니 디 곰디 tempo도.
However, even though that is the fact of the matter, that yet through powerful habituation, we accede to the incorrect way that things actually are. So, like, things appear as if they had this objective existence, and then from our own mind we accede to what appears. We believe in that appearance, and that's generated in our minds, and that's the reality that we is incumbent in our consciousness, and we deep down have some conviction in that because of habituation.
다 뒤에 맞아 그 먼저 지나다 되게 조단게 지금 제시에다 저 신고에 개침부 차기도 돼 얘네 대 신배 돈에 다 가르쳐서 갑대된 거서 다 저기 가서데 나왔다 그 맞주바지 아니 내가 띵내니 보자 내가 띵 좀 봐봐 내가 띵 줘봐지 요한매 봐지 아니 가뚜이네 아니 대 가서데 제시에 가서 내가 다 같이 가뚜이네 쇠바지 대 프레셔 대 두에지 아니 내가 들으는 간토도 그 동반이 검자에다 되고 삼로 땅전에 검자에다 아니 되게 동반이 또해체도 아니 지금 자지 가서도 봐주지 뒷바다 장게 뒷바다 제가 되게 초사 집장지에다 다들 뭐 보지 라레기도 와 초사 집장지 아니 지금 뒤체도 다 같이 검자에 안 뒤체도 양내 양도 삼로 땅에 양 뒤체도 아니 배자만 불러야 뒤골 배자만 불러야 내가 지금 찾았다. 다 같이 상계 좀 된되게 다 같이 지금 가서다 추기 님부 잡아도 되래도. 추기 님부 잡아도.
So this is something that it's kind of like, as you can see, kind of very intricate explanation, but we should try to apply whatever our understanding is directly to kind of disbelieve in the way that things appear to us more and more, and to try and get this deep conviction, not just a conviction, not just to kind of like present an intellectual sort of argument against appearance, but have a more deep conviction that things actually do not exist in the way that they appear. That if that was the case, then if things did exist in the way they appear, then logically the end of that reasoning is that things will be unchangeable, and they don't. There could be no transformation. It's contrary to my actual experience, and to try and really develop that as much as we can. Use our kind of like meditation on emptiness, the understanding we have that we gain through reading about it, reading the texts about it. And also engaging in lots of accumulation of merit through all other activities, and the purification of negativities and obscurations that might be blocking our understanding. And so to really give this topic, this subject, due regard, because we understand it to be the very essence of Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings.
근데 제투에 되게 다 남의 송도 투바체 요래 안디가 또 신기 요래 아니 사모다 여바디 소소를 여바도 뭐 맞죠 봤잖아 아니 지금 가서라다 딜을 도나 맞아 봤자 아니 셔바된데 야 개와 두비를 빼나 지금 로페나 빼나 지금 가서다 빼나 지금 가서다 개와 셔바된데 두비라 아니 저 야보다래 얘네야 개와 개 치슈데 개와 똑 치슈데 누가 치슈데 동반이 그 돈에 잘못당할 개와 똑 쳐줘요 말고 디 소소가 또 하고 싶어도 아니 배주 마당하지 이다가샤 아니 저 내고 줘야다 아니 지지 줘 디게 좀 모르지 지네 어디 야보다 레데 얘네 동반이 그 돈 삼로 따요 그거 뒤도 저 철라마다 야나야도 삼마다 아니 뒤셔라 냠도 다 내고 줘야 돼 지마다야다 시바게 와도 좀더 야보러 와 다 동반이 그 돈 신부제 뒤 야나야도 삼마들 조송요 말이 가봐 얘네 냠에 제초도 와 이 야나야 뒤집을 때는 라는 요모 숙충도 기 녀모 숙집을 끼고 말해 숙충도 좋으래 그러니까 남자는 녀모 매바 차도 그래 안 녀모 온게 싸베 안 디바데 그때 맞아도 그래 그러나 다까지 저기 직접 다에게 또 치슈지 다 장주가 선다 돈이 또 배시라고 말 하가지 요 말와 디니를 하가지 요 말와 가서 디바 사이에 뭔가 말이 온게 싼 거야 머리에 가디도 똥반이래 돈이 더 배시라더래 안디 다 디레 디바 다섯 차지 가려 그래 자주 선바 아니 저거 다 저 가서데 사주 랑알라베 갈라 냠샤도 돈이 갈 냠바 샤고도 돈반이 냠바 샤 페고도 돈반이 돈이 그 되라 돈반이 그 최단자 라신 그 최고 라실라 냠바 샤잖아 아니 놈모 아니 저거 라바네란 타와잖아 다도 산지 고마 두고도 근데 단다 말아줘다 지금 경험에 내가 그 미류래 산지게 때마다 제 지난해 앞에 태바치 미추 안 지난해 다 지금 가서는 오늘 다와도 또 지금 소소 또 다른 또 심바티 아니 니리 냠냠갈 잠하도나 아니 방보러 와
So we need to be able to really place this contemplation of emptiness to the very forefront of our practice. This is where we need to place our attention. It's so important to be able to understand that emptiness is the most important contemplation we should engage in. And that sometimes, we make the mistake, isn't it, of not prioritizing our Dharma activities or our Dharma time really well enough. And that, of course, engaging in virtue is all very good, but the virtues accrued through a motivation informed by emptiness is the most powerful virtue that you could engage in. And it's very, very important to understand this. Emptiness is the most important subject matter for us. That sometimes we think, oh, it's very good to go on pilgrimage. And of course it is. The pilgrimage is very, very good. But it's not in the context of choosing between going on pilgrimage and meditating on emptiness. Meditating on emptiness is far more important, not to speak of far more virtuous an activity. And of course, in supporting our main concern of really understanding emptiness, that we can engage in virtues like generosity and pilgrimage, etc. That's all very good in support of that. And so it's kind of like very, very important. Besides, meditating on emptiness doesn't cost us anything, whereas pilgrimage can be quite expensive. And also, in terms of understanding that the degree, the subtlety with which we can develop with regard to our understanding of emptiness will certainly reduce our mental affliction, and of course ultimately eradicate, uproot those mental afflictions. And also meditating on emptiness is extremely important in terms of purifying negativities. In fact, it's said that with regard to purifying the antidotes for purifying negativities, there are none more powerful than the mind of enlightenment and emptiness. That's very logical, isn't it? Because how do we accumulate negativity and non-virtues in the first place? It's through ignorance, and the ignorance of misperceiving reality and engaging in attachment and aversion activities. And so the antidote to ignorance is emptiness, is the wisdom realizing emptiness. And so it's very, very important. And of course, in terms of how effective our progress on the path is through having developed bodhicitta, or the mind of enlightenment, is very much pertains to the degree to which we understand emptiness. They go together very much. As you can proceed along the paths and grounds, you can see that it pertains to the how more subtle our realization of emptiness is, as we get to purifying all the obscurations related to omniscience and the deluded obscurations, etc. So very, very key, absolutely key to our progress on the path. And so from our point of view, understanding that we have attained the precious human rebirth, understanding how we have met with the Dharma, understanding that we have even a slight understanding of what is meant by the middle way view, we should therefore apply our strongest efforts from the depths of our hearts to trying to gain more and more understanding, to be able to avail of all these benefits of understanding emptiness in this way, and to understand also that if we do not apply ourselves to gaining this understanding, what a terrible loss it would be. And so again, not to mistake the priority, like some people have a great love of reciting mantra, but more important is meditation, and particularly meditation on emptiness and on the mind of enlightenment. It says, but when you get tired of meditation, yeah, you can recite mantra. Mantra is kind of for break time, kind of saying, relax. Say your mantra while you're relaxing. So this is advice coming directly from Master Nagarjuna, and so he was saying, when you are meditating and you get tired, then when you relax, you can recite some mantras. Refresh yourself with mantra. And so for us though, we maybe concentrate too much on the mantra side and don't bother with the meditation. You're reciting mantras while watching TV.
Mantra at the 10% demo.
So yeah, concentrating 10% on the mantra and 90% on what's on TV. Maybe some other attention going elsewhere.
They get you is so several dead, chevache. Yes, what they will never you must send chevache, and you won't give to Jimoto 10. And Tarnish to Tony quarter just some of them. So the penal Shijing to the remote Yumchimo, sharing a party to Chimas, Yumchimo, Yumsigua, Yums, the Amasio, Matters, Yumchim cousin, use with not David Sanje, Tata Sanje, Maumba Sanje Ganga, and a young dilet in the 20s. Sharing a party to Chimas.
So that so this is something that we should try to develop as a habit, that we are in the habit of analyzing. On the one hand, like this mindfulness of checking whether my mental affliction is arising or not, and then on the basis of that move on to the actual emptiness meditation, looking at the actual ultimate analysis through examining the ultimate nature of whatever that is, whether it is a mental affliction or not. And so in the context of Buddhism, and all the Perfection of Wisdom sutras, emptiness, the wisdom aspect is referred to as the mother, the mother. And so in this sense that it's in the context of that this mother of wisdom has given birth to all the Buddhas of the past, Buddhas of the present, and will give birth to the Buddhas of the future. So that shows its significance. Extremely important. And so that to try to avoid or to ignore or to not give due attention to reflection on emptiness in order to gain a more subtle understanding of emptiness would be a great loss. Would be a great loss. So as I said last week or the week before about that like someone was mentioning, if all the other teachings of the Buddha were to disappear, but the Buddha said if all my countless teachings were to disappear, but if the Perfection of Wisdom sutras, in those where it's described emptiness and so on, and the true nature of reality is described, if they were to disappear, then it would be a true disaster. We can see this even in the kind of comparison with other religions that are still with us, how amazing they are in many respects. But it's only through the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha that we get this doctrine of looking into the true nature of phenomena itself, looking into the ultimate status of phenomena. And again, this process of a path that is dominated by valid reasoning, by looking into using reasoned analysis to affect our progress along the 10 grounds, the 5 paths, etc. This is solely, the work, or this is unique to the path of Shakyamuni Buddha.
단지 머리배 온 거요. 다 밑에 동네 빵을 단지 뒤에 자와 단지 머리배 마바나 매우 소통 것도 와. 다 뒤에 내보도 돈이도 베시라로 와. 다 뒤 돈이도 베시랍 때에 슝디게 잡을려는 냐바이나 방벌에도 왔다.
So like all of our when we trace all of our unwanted suffering to the negativities that we created motivated by this ignorance, this particular ignorance where we grasp at the true existence of a self-entity, and then this antidote to that's presented as the wisdom of emptiness, that is very unique to the Buddha's Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings.
산지 좀 되더라. 문에 산지 좀 되다 대박 깨서티 뭐다 시중 거들을 무슨 깨고요.
그래서
시중 도들을 뭐지? 자자바람이다 수다.
And so, and that and then when we reflect on this, we can see on the one hand that the Shakyamuni Buddha was extremely exceptional as a teacher, and in particular exceptional for what was explicated in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, that whole series of teachings.
팀도 지금서도 디자인 아니 셰라니 뭐 사직자 저 어느 어떤 지금 제대로 말고 삼보당 보도 교다 삼보당 보 셰라니 뭐 돈바 상게 뭘 갑자기 자도 말봐 너무 갑자기 자한테 셰라니 뭐 주자 다음에 또 셰라한테 랑이 겁네 갑자기 자고도
So this is again exemplified in, for example, the Heart Sutra. With we mustn't just recite it something where that is not contemplated on, but rather really contemplate on the meaning, because the subject matter of the Heart Sutra is this very emptiness, and it's very important that we kind of reflect on that and indeed integrate that into our lives as much as possible.
sumba mushi kewa yime tane kobe sunchi mimi ba temba desa mushi kewa kabe dondangi kewa mi kekwa gyue mete dondangi kewa kelle na deni chube rigwe jesu to dökola ise da shela da she niga gyue la sumar wata mushi so mushi kale ke cheko so kewa samje döbe ne de kone kewa kem kewa samje döba ne de kone kewa kemalala 대 말람베 대 코나니라 주베 리베 다학신 소 강리 계시 지다 주데 리베 제수도 되미고 비치로자
So the third of these points that are looking into showing that the Madhyamaka critique does not eradicate conventional existence. So the third reasoning is you cannot eradicate conventional phenomena by refuting them through investigating whether they are produced in one of the four alternative ways. Because of the mushi senako because of the yoba meba tang niba tang niba meba the mushi senako. And so there's no fault, it says, in saying that we do not refute production. Right. So that So that here it's looking into the problem of saying that there's no fault if one does not refute that the production and cessation, according to the four alternatives, are not refuted ultimately. And so here, just clarifying again, that these four alternatives can be one, that something exists; two, that it does not exist; three, that it both exists and does not exist; and four, that it neither exists nor does not exist. And if that's applied to the self, that something can arise from the four alternatives. Another possibility for them is that something arises from self, from other, three from both, and four causelessly. So these are two variations on the four alternatives. But it's saying here, so one point of view is saying there's no fault in making that statement, and so if something is asserted as being an ultimately produced, so ultimately existing, ultimately produced, then it must be able to withstand analysis, and this reasoned analysis. And so at that time, then it must be able to, that analysis must take place in terms of the four alternatives as to whether it is something which is produced through self or through other, etc. And so it's saying, we assert that the Majjhimika point of view, that that such production does not, we do not assert any real or intrinsic production, and that and this is why kind of we use reasoning to that analyze reality, to analyze production as to which it is. Is it it's intrinsically existing or not, and so on. And so here it's saying it's very, very, because it's saying that here when we because I did yakoshingi megan because the tamadi the siktuk tamadi rikbe jego to do a mi go bat chero
rikbe jesu to
tamadi
rikbe jesu to de mi go be chero rikbe jesu to ta rikbe jeba jena da su to ba de mi go be chero sa ta ka ja ro ka sa de ji rikbe jeba jena ta ka ja ji mani ba chi de mi go be chero to so 개와 잠시 되변이 개와 잠시 되변이 대코나니 개와 개말라라 개와 잠시 되변이나 대코나니 개와 개마 대코나니 개와 개래 공부하러 왔다 개와 잠시 되변이나 대말람베 다대 개말람베 안 대코나니 주변 리베 daksen소 간레 개세 지다 줘 저고 말이었어 다 다시에서 저서도 라신거 주변다 제마저도 제다서 왔어. 리베저도 미고 치고 저도.
Sorry, yes. So so my mistake here is that when we from the Majjhimika point of view, that say we assert a mere production, and so when we assert mere production, it automatically shows that we do not assert any intrinsic production, and so through not asserting that what we are using reasoning that analyze reality, so ultimate reality, and so it's not necessary for us to assert that mere production needs to withstand such analysis. Because mere production is the way things actually exist, not intrinsically produced. So we leave it there because it can be a little bit bored, I think, or confused.
권력부를 찾게 다들 숑쳔모도 다들 이렇게 제가 숑쳔 조다들와 또 숑쳔모를 검시시다면 또 권력부를 지요 다 이내다 뭐지 개치슈데 다 되긴 연락을 했잖아 같이 가서도 라신의 요 말이 쓰고 저 지다 위에 매고 제가 지다 많이 봤잖아 유대는 좀 난 것도 나와다 도문도 식다고요 보다 뭐지 저 가르나는 유대 좀 난 것도 와 안 나왔다고 생각도 왔다. 근데 또 뭐도 딱지 찍어라. 지난 코라 위에 뭐 딱지 찍고도 말이야. 좋아. 어디니 디야와 체셔. 디니 야와 체나 다 라신의 매도도 거 요단데다. 거기 거다 지 거저다 지 차셔가 되는 요새다. 아니 또왜 딱 삼다다. 지금 군조 참아를 맞잖아. 또왜 딱 삼다다. 대대지가를 요단도 조탐도 쓰지 내부라. 또 또왜 딱 삼대 뭐 차셔야 되는 요단데 그 야구 제와 제와 또왜 딱 삼다다 뭐 죽수 살아가면 또 차셔야 되는 요대. 뭐다 그 다주다 또왜 딱 삼도라 돈이 맞도나 또왜 딱 삼게 뭐니 되지요 맞다. 그 지금다 또왜 딱 삼고 어디도 딱 이제 다 간에 참고도 왔다. 구조 참고 용어 되기도 와.
So I definitely understand that when we are dealing with the topic in this way, it's like on the one hand it's summarized, and it can be quite difficult to get a clear picture of what's being spoken about. Also, even reading the root text, the big texts dealing with this issue, there's so much reasoning, the counter reasoning going on, refuting others' assertions and establishing one's own assertions. There's like lots of different reasonings, not to mention the terminology. So it can be quite difficult to get one's head around that and to keep one's concentration whilst reading. But I still maintain like that the most important point, and this is something I've emphasized before too, that this lack of inherent existence or lack of intrinsic existence of phenomena should be implicit in our response to how things appear to us, and that to move away from this automatic assumption that things actually are in the way that they appear, and how we so easily accede to and then cling to mentally that phenomena exist in that way. And so what we need to see is that things actually don't exist in the way that they appear, and move into that this lack of intrinsic existence shows us, on the one hand, basically things arise in dependence upon parts, or more subtly that they are merely imputed by thought, and to really gain the deep conviction that there is no alternative reality, that there is no other way that things could exist, that they do exist. And even when I look into the conclusion that phenomena arise in dependence on parts, that I look into that reality, I will see that the parts themselves are merely imputed by thought, that they themselves lack any objective or intrinsic existence. And so this sort of gaining of that sort of everyday understanding of life is what's really important, to actually get this reasoning to really seep in, wash over our minds and our thinking, and seep in, is gaining what is referred to as the subtle chamoki, the subtle. So I'm saying that this understanding of mere imputation or mere designation is referred to as a subtle conventional reality. So saying that this understanding actually of it's simultaneous with that one's understanding of emptiness, really. That when we get to that point of really understanding emptiness as the mere imputation or the mere designation, that's all it is. There's nothing mere. It's just nothing other than that. That's a very subtle level of understanding.
가서 니람이 삼삼지 니람 나로라 공부 요 삼사자 니람 나로라 냠네 지금 요 삼사 안디 검시 수점 보지 잡아이나 아니 무슨 니 군대에 가라 니람 담에 가래 남의 제도에 지원하지.
And so that's so to try to reflect continuously in this way. That we may not get this direct realization of emptiness, but what we're looking for at this point is to really recognize the argument, recognize the reasoning, and to gain conviction in that reasoning. And and the more we familiarize through the contemplation and through meditation, that also we can make the aspiration to actually be able to practice and to continue one's reasoning in one's dream state, and so that at some point when we are actually dreaming, we will be able to practice and to meditate.
But what that shoga that was nilam some that netan jorwa go that nimeko netan jorwa nimeko nilam yin some and did and namne you some wa ina and nilam na le
So that we ourselves also, it's like when we wake up and we are getting up awake, but we have this understanding of it, actually this is like a dream reality. This is not the way things appear like this, but these things do not exist in this way. So it's like so it's like I am now in a dream.
Dreaming, yes.
I am now dreaming.
What did some of
Oh, so that even now, like I'm dreaming, and so that when you are actually asleep, that you will be able to practice in a dream state.
And chindu nyamne chigi yus. What did some of the and nilam down to you. Nilam color Shebata to you. Shebata Jikal Yamne to Nivachayo.
And so that's in one's in meditation, actual meditation on emptiness and so on, to say that I'm in a dream, I'm meditating on emptiness now. And so that to kind of like have that reference that when you're actually sleeping, that you will enter into similar sort of meditation in the actual dream state. And the importance of that, the significance of that, is that our consciousness is a more subtle consciousness in the dream state, and therefore one will have the hopes of gaining a deeper and a deeper understanding and be able to more directly oppose a mental affliction. So there's that essential point to it.
Onbi ko te zone pe bizirwa bizire ani chaje mangbure ta roba chigen pe mangbure to atila andi za kom jaga chigo te mangcha ta namier ta ine ni ko yakalo onbu diga pechewa rakba diga peche ga charwa balne dewa balne do ta de za ishi khoran mo de jute ro this ko to nega chayo sa.
So that it's actually a very a good very very skillful proposition, especially if you compare the potential of being able to employ a more subtle consciousness, a more subtle wisdom to penetrate through mental affliction and indeed penetrate through the meaning of reality in a dream state, as composed to the coarse level of consciousness that we are kind of lumbered with in our waking state. And we can all, I think, verify this through the difficulty of being able to do any sort of practice without being dominated by, distractions. And indeed, much of our meditation is probably made up with distraction. And this shows that we have so much going on, like in the our busy daily life, that trying to concentrate on anything spiritual is fraught with difficulty. That is not an issue for us when we're in the dream state. The sense consciousnesses, for one, have absorbed and are absorbed into our consciousness, into our dream state, into our sleeping state. And if then we can have this kind of lucid dreaming, then we have sort of more subtle, more penetrative mental tools to work with.
어디 내가 요새래 다 뭐저 다른 배준 지나 안 가서서 니람 나라래 안 공배 오게 냐래 제도했지.
So it's like we can use this waking state to prepare ourselves, to prime ourselves to be able to employ this kind of concentration when we're in the dream state.
근데 저는 니람 그 쉐바들라 또스 소속에 즉 가서 즉 소속 가서다 배주 땅 도와 준 거로 와. 다른 것도 배주 간다도 못다. 니람을 하고 좀더 담아라 용도 와. 그 배주 간다도 못다. 다가서 단단해 저 니 세베 갑네. 그 니람 그 삼로 땅제 지기는 것들 제와시 차고 요로 와.
So to make this connection between what we have this kind of like direct awareness of in our waking state, that we can say I really want to be able to use my dream state, because often of course the dreams are as scattered and as distracting as anything else, isn't it, that we're engaged in going in all sorts of directions in a dream. So you want to have that sort of lucidity to recognize that I'm in a dream state and I'm going to use this for this specific purpose of meditating on emptiness, for example. And so you need to actually make that connection through your waking time and to kind of like prime yourself to take that opportunity when the dream state arises.
안 대샤 대샤 나 디스트스 was the because 나를 그 사람들 인제 단다 때 가서 특히 민야 같은 것도 다들 자나고 좀 나라 얘들 다 나한테 또 시대 생다시는 저 좀 가서 Nobel Peace Prize라고
right, because they want to offer mantras on behalf of that one
Nobel
Peace Prize winner is in a Chinese prison.
What's called his name? Because now he's sick. What's called?
He's very, very sick. I think he was very prominent in the.
Who means the Lu? What's called? Lu Xiaobo. Yeah.
Lu Xiaobo.
Yeah. Now he's in cancer. I think.
Yeah.
Liver cancer something. Yeah.
Yes.
Until the mental user, until the ninja Kasolata. The winner tonight, Jana Mimada, somebody Mimachi on the summer she was down to get. 오늘 전화는 강에 유심히 가라 뺐다. 라운드 했잖아. 다 되도 그치라. 사야. 그러다 이제 요즘 그게 배 전화 미만 편도 용에 셔도. 다 지금 직수 내버잖아. 다 삼주 미만 편도 셔다 이제 마셔 쉬어. 거기서 다 지금 dob체 다 주나. 제스 거다. 오늘 이제 정말 주자. 이제 다 그런 지금 나사돼서 조금 즉 내들 탈이했다. 맨조고 튕겨서 야구 용이야. 답이 뭔가 선배적으로 다 자나는 맨조 그래 지용. 그래서 오늘 맨조 야구 지금 정말 선배 못지기도 와. 다 가이나면 코라 지금 맨조고 튕겨 가봐 상하유나. 텔레파 라완톤에 저투에 지다. 안디 맨조 야구 용투에. 아니 마음보다 지금 잡을링 미만 야구 자나 미만을 편도 납치 코라 상도도 못을 편도 용투에지.
So we'll consider, his dedication really to the betterment of all of the Chinese people, the Chinese population, but also like in a worldly sense to kind of further the democracy, right?
In Janabi because 단다기 마쇼가 팀게 미만 강아지고 책을 열받아. 강에 세다 줘야다. what the negative picture 가서 다 그런 망조 용어야다 뭐 아니 팀다 좀 얘기가 야부 용어야다 내가 살로만 보스다는 디자가 이제
and so that to support the kind of like the rule of law and the abiding by the rule of law and indeed the betterment of kind of democratic processes within more freedom for the people within China work so hard, but due to the communist regime fell foul there, was arrested, imprisoned for many years, and
11 years I think,
11 years. Yeah. And so there are many people in China as well as around the world who are very concerned for his health at the time being. So we offer these mantras that he will be able to overcome this disease, to recover completely. That he will also have proper medical treatment and have access to proper medical medicine, medical treatment and medicine during this time. So we offer these prayers on his behalf and on the many who are imprisoned as prisoners of conscience and so on in China and elsewhere around the world, that they may be freed and may fulfill their own wishes for the betterment of humanity. We do our Mani Padme Hum mantra. Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani O Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani Padme O Mani Padme Hum, 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 O Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani O Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, O Mani Padme Hum, Gewati Mudo da Jeres wa to Pyo to wa Chikama De Salam Go para Sho. And we do our prayers for Lam Rim. Dedications prayer. From my two collections, vastest space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives mentoring. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I uphold all the Buddha's practice. By skillful means, drawn from the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings, that the points of the paths I have discerned. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time.
With my heart going out with great passion, in every direction my precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined. May I reveal the treasure of happiness and aid.
May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. By all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths, never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones. May oceans of prosperity stream everywhere.